I'm currently on board Royal Princess for a 7-night Alaska Inside Passage cruise from Whittier to Vancouver. Normally, I'm loyal to Royal and stick with Royal Caribbean. Apart from an Antarctica cruise with the French line Ponant, my last 4 cruises have all been with Royal Caribbean. So, what made me switch to Princess Cruises for this Alaska adventure? And after a few days on board, what do I like better about Princess Cruises? And what makes me wish I were on a Royal Caribbean ship? Stay tuned to find out, coming up next. Hi fellow travelers, it's Ken here and welcome to my channel. If you are a regular viewer of this channel, you will know that I love cruising on Royal Caribbean ships. Personally, I love the Oasis class ships and now Icon of the Seas too. I enjoy the boardway style entertainment as well as all the thrills on their ships. Water slides, flow riders, ice skating rinks, bumper cars, zip lines, and the new Crown's Edge. However, when we planned our Alaska cruise, Royal Caribbean wasn't at the top of my list. Why? Well, that's because I cruise for 2 very different reasons. Sometimes it's all about the ship, which is usually the case for Caribbean cruises. The ports aren't uniquely different. Other times, it's all about the ports and the itinerary. That was true for our Antarctica cruise, and it's certainly true for Alaska. To many, an Alaska trip is a once-in-a-lifetime experience, so choosing the right cruise is crucial. Ports are the most important factor. If you look at the itineraries from different cruise lines, they all seem similar. But are they? One of the biggest highlights of an Alaska cruise is the scenic cruising at Glacier Bay National Park. Only 2 cruise ships a day are allowed to enter the park, and most cruise lines don't include Glacier Bay in their itineraries. However, Holland American Line and Princess Cruises hold concession contracts to operate about 71% of the Glacier Bay visits. Both lines have been operating in Glacier Bay since before it became a national park in 1980. When we saw a promotion last year with a £1 deposit and 50% off the Plus package, we booked with Princess Cruises. At the end, our visit to Glacier Bay National Park was disappointing due to bad weather. It also didn't help that our stay there was curtailed by medical emergency. But none of these were Princess's fault. Now, having done this Princess cruise, I can offer you my perspective of what's great on Princess and what's better on Royal. I love the fact that Princess Cruises offers the Plus package for £50 per person per day, or $60 or 65 Aussie dollars. It includes the drinks package, gratuities, complimentary Wi-Fi, premium desserts, and more. This is incredible value. On Royal Caribbean, the drinks package alone would cost at least that much. Adding free Wi-Fi and gratuities on top of that would increase the cost by another $40 per person per day on Royal Caribbean. I definitely wish they would offer packages like this. The next thing that I like about Princess is probably more specific to this Alaska cruise, where there's a lot of scenic cruising. The ship may not have many thrills like North Star or Flow Rider, but it has a very open deck, with lots of space for viewing glaciers and wildlife. One area that I think Princess is better than Royal Caribbean is their food quality, which shouldn't be a big surprise as Princess has traditionally marketed itself as a premium line. The buffet at Horizon Court is generally better quality than Windjammer, and I really like the fact that afternoon tea is offered on the afternoons of sea days on the Princess cruise. We had almost all dinners here in the main dining room, and the quality has been good in general. The steak and lobster tail on the gala night was particularly good. Service tends to be slower here than on Royal Caribbean, but it made up for it with the ability to reserve a different time for dinner at the main dining room every day on the app. This works much better than the early evening dinner time we normally get on Royal Caribbean. On our Alaska cruise, there is a naturalist on board. He and other speakers, including national park rangers, delivered some great talks about Alaska and related wildlife. This is not something offered on Royal Caribbean cruises, so I really appreciated it as I feel these talks did enrich my enjoyment in Alaska. One thing that I do like with Princess Cruises is the Ocean Now service. On Princess ships, you have a medallion device that acts as your room key and sea pass, and it also tracks your location, and it was very useful for contact tracing during COVID times. Anyway, you can order food and drinks on the app and they will be delivered to wherever you are, and that works quite well. Now, of course, there are things that are better on a Royal Caribbean ship, and here they are. There's no debate about it. If you are looking for a cruise with lots of great parties and theatre shows with high production value, then Royal Caribbean is definitely your choice. On this Princess cruise, there was a low-key atmosphere at many of the parties, and the shows are relatively cheap. Now, don't get me wrong, most of us go on an Alaska cruise for the ports and destinations, but still, I would love more interesting entertainment. Now, the staff is great on both Royal Caribbean and Princess ships, but I found overall they are just a touch friendlier and more engaged on Royal Caribbean. One issue I found on this ship is that it seems to be slightly understaffed. There are often long lines at bars and gelato, particularly after dinner, and there is no bar staff serving drinks inside the theatre. Instead, you have to go outside to fetch your own drinks. It's much better on Royal Caribbean ships where they would have staff coming to your seat and taking drinks order. I found our balcony stateroom on Royal Princess rather small. There's not quite enough storage space for everything. And the balcony is tiny compared to Royal Caribbean's balcony. There isn't room for a couch in our balcony stateroom on Royal Princess, but there is always one in the balcony stateroom on Royal Caribbean's ships. Our balcony cabin on Royal Princess is arguably even smaller than our ocean view cabin on Icon of the Seas. If you go on a Princess ship, expect zero thrills. There's no ice skating rink, no flow rider, no North Star, which would be cool in Alaska. There's no rock climbing wall, no bumper cars, or laser tags. If you like those activities like I do, then you'll find there's nothing of that sort on Princess ships. Okay, we're cruising Alaska for the destination rather than the ship, but still, I wish there was something more fun to do, like when the weather was bad. As it stands, the most thrilling thing that you can do on a Princess ship is this skywalk. By the way, if you've been enjoying this video or finding the content useful, please boop the like button so that YouTube spreads this video to more viewers like you. And if you aren't a subscriber yet, please consider doing so. I've got a lot more Alaska travel content coming up and you won't want to be missing out. Finally, while it's not applicable to Alaska cruises, one of the major draws of Royal Caribbean cruises is their private island Coco Cay, particularly with the Hideaway Beach, which is their adult-only facility on the island. It's one of the best innovations by Royal Caribbean, and if you don't know about it, check out the link above. So which cruise line do I prefer, and how should you decide which line to cruise with? First of all, these are of course just my personal observations, and it's important to consider which aspect of cruising experience is most important to you. Overall, I feel that if you're cruising for the more traditional reasons, to enjoy good food and the ocean views, then Princess is a great choice, particularly if you are doing an Alaska cruise. However, if you have kids or are just young at heart, like me, then you can't go wrong with Royal Caribbean with all the thrills and spectacular shows, particularly on their newest ship, Icon of the Seas. To find out our experience on this massive ship, watch this video next. where I review our experience on it and whether it's worth the premium pricing. Or dive into the full Alaska playlist to follow our entire Alaskan adventure from start to finish. Whichever you choose, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao!